Hi everybody and welcome back to Kevin's Upfront Opinion today. So what I thought I'd speak about is why don't men get custody or very good access to their children. Now, before I get into that, just got to ask people, if you could please subscribe to the channel, would appreciate because it helps me get lots of these videos out and getting the research done. Box behind me, had a new TV yesterday and I managed to get rid of the box. So before anybody moans, why you got so much mess behind you? That's why. We just had a new TV put up on the wall yesterday. Now, when we get into this, now, when I do these types of videos, okay, I basically realise, because a lot of the time, what I'm actually doing is bitching about my ex-girlfriend. That's what I'm actually doing. Okay. And to be honest, when I look at it, in some ways, it's not actually her fault. It is her fault, but it's not her fault in a way. When I say that, is because a lot of men, and I was guilty of this at the time, originally, after the breakup of our relationship back in 2009, I went down the route of the big I am, the guy with the ego. You know, I've worked in sales for over 20 years. I don't dispute I have an ego. Okay, so I went in, all guns blazing, saying, right, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. And what happens? Mother gets on her back foot. She goes and does a runner. I have no idea where she is. I never see my daughter. Now, run on nearly 17 years later, because this was 2009. Okay, so my daughter, my daughter was born in August 2009. Okay, we're now in 2026. Okay, still haven't seen my daughter. So the question is why did it happen? And the reality is my fault. Nobody to blame but myself because of the way that I handled it. Now, I know there's a lot of people do these types of videos. Okay, a lot of women that do them, as in like lawyers and everything. You know, you've got that very, I'm going to say middle age, attractive lawyer that does a lot of videos. He's on Facebook an awful lot, TikTok and all that type of stuff. He probably does YouTube and Rumble and all that type of stuff. And she's really good. She's really good. I've watched a lot of her videos. And if you take away of her being a lawyer, a lot of what she says makes sense. And this is the reason why. Because she's correct when she says, do courts favour mothers? No, they don't. They don't. Fundamentally, they don't. If a court's got to make a choice and take a child, let's say for instance a child's with the mother, are they going to do it? Yeah, they are going to do it. But the reality, and this is where I understand where she's coming from, and where I understand the courts are from, because if you looked at 100 cases, okay, of who the child spends most of the time with, when you've got a husband and wife, who does the child spend most of their time with? The mother. Okay, now let's go down the route. Okay, let's say for instance it's a separation. Who, odds on, is the child going to be with? 99 times out of 100, the child's going to be with the mother. Now, this is the fundamental question. Okay, who's going to know what a child likes to eat most of the time? You know, whether it's for breakfast, lunch, tea. Now, in my household, this is slightly different because my wife doesn't do the cooking. Now, me and my wife have been together for 11 years. Okay. Been together for 11 years. We've been married since 2018. Married March the 31st, 2018. You know, always remember it. Never forgotten a anniversary, mainly because I've got it tattooed right on my arm, right there. 31st of March, 2018. Okay. So I've never forgotten her. Well, I came close to forgetting it last year, to be honest. I did, even though I've got it tattooed on my arm. But the reality is, you know, if I look at my wife, she hasn't cooked me a meal in about 10 years. And that's not a dig at her, because she knows I do all the cooking. I've got no problem doing all the cooking. Trained as a chef, worked in the kitchens and everything. So I've got no problem with doing the cooking. And I like doing the cooking. And to be honest, it makes sure everybody stays out of my kitchen. I know where everything is. Okay. And that's similar to the way that most households are worked. Because the mothers know the routines of everybody. That my wife probably knows my routine better than I know my own routine. Okay, because everybody has routines. So if everybody has routines, and the mother knows all the routines, okay, why would a court, unless it's a necessity and they got no choice, why would a court take a child or children away from the mother and give them to the husband or the father unless they have to? And that's the question you've got to ask yourself. And that's something that took me many years to learn and many years to realise. Because when I went through the process, I learnt the hard way. Okay. So that's what men have got to realise and come to terms with. So unless you can turn to a court and say, right, Mum, she don't deal with any of this, I do all this. You know, she goes out to work 5, 6, 7 days a week. She's out at work from 9 till 5. I'm the one that's out. I'm the one that's doing the school run. I'm the one that's doing all the cooking. I'm the one that's going to do all the shopping. I'm the one that takes them to all their clubs or take them to school and all that. Unless you can say that, you're probably on a hiding unless you've got some dirt on your partner. Say, for instance, to show that she's unfit to be the mother. And unfortunately, which is going to be the case, most men aren't capable of doing that. Okay. And that's just reality. And I don't care if you've just got with another woman, okay, you've got a new stable relationship, you know, you've got the 3.2 children. Even with that, you're still probably not going to get the custody. Now, what you can do is get access. Okay. And this is when it becomes really personal for me. Because I've never had access to my daughter. I've had no access. Ever. Okay. And part of it was because I never knew where my daughter is. I still don't know to this day where she is. Okay. Never seen her. I've seen my ex twice in them preceding 16 years. Never with my daughter. Okay. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry on camera. And I tell you what, people don't realise how much it really hurts. And this is something I won't even speak to my wife about. I won't speak to my kids about. Okay, because I can't. I fundamentally can't, because I'm the one in the house that has to stay strong. And what I would say to anybody that has to do this is do whatever it takes. and this is my biggest mistake. Okay, because if I go through my story, okay, it's not a pretty story. You know, I'm actually ashamed of it. You know, and over what, the last 6 to 8 months, people have asked me, and I've got nothing to be proud of. You know, most of what I've done in my life, I'm proud of. But when it comes to everything that's happened, to do with that, I'm not proud of it for a single second. Because there's no reason for what happening. And it's all my fault. Okay, so what I would actually say to anybody that is going to go down this route is do everything it takes and not go and bulldoze in. If you do that, you'll get access to your children. And that's what you've got to remember. And what you've also got to remember is never giving up. So I hope this helps everybody out. What I will do in the next video or two, I will do a video about my story on what actually happens when you do it the wrong way. And even though I was never violent or anything like that, there was no abuse in our relationship or anything like that, I will go into that story and actually tell the story. So, for now, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all again